Maybe you can tell us where you're exactly from in Australia.
Yeah, well, I'm from Brisbane, Australia, which is in Queensland, which is on the east coast. Also, thank you for having me.
Ah, okay. What's the weather like there? Do you have beaches nearby? Is it hot?
Yeah, it's beaches all up the coast. It's very humid and hot, although at the moment it's a bit chilly at the moment.
Ah, okay. How is the virus situation in your country, and what does it mean for musicians? It's better in Australia as in Europe, I think, or?
Yeah, we're very lucky that Australia kind of clamped down very quickly with the virus, and uh, fingers crossed, we seem to be doing pretty okay for the moment. Also, Brisbane isn't as big a city as Sydney or Melbourne, so we're doing a little bit better than those cities we're doing. But, yeah, it's good because it means that people can actually play gigs and go to some stuff. I feel very lucky.
Um, so the bars and
Oh no.
clubs were closed also, and now they are open again, or what's the situation?
There was a lockdown back last year, and then we shut everything down, and then we were pretty okay after that. Everyone wore their masks and everything. We had one more lockdown earlier this year, but other than that, we've been incredibly lucky. Everyone's been doing the right thing and staying safe, and so it's been pretty good.
So bars and clubs open again, and you can also do concerts. It's possible.
It's yeah. People are still doing concerts. We're a little bit hesitant about booking concerts too far in advance because no one really knows what's going to be happening in a month from now. Um, but it's good to have some semblance of normality again.
What do you have to do to go on a concert? Which security is necessary? Is there a maximum of people?
Yeah, a lot of the clubs, depending on whether there's a case or whether it's been a long time from a case, they'll have a person limit. And I think during the harder times of the lockdown, it'll be seated only. Everyone's 1.5 from each other, no dancing, and no standing. So if you were to go to a gig, it'd be like 50 or 30 people maximum. Everyone has to sit. But like it's a fine. Oh, and of course masks as well. But it's a fine price to pay for us to keep putting music on. Um, yeah.
Do I need a virus test, or is this not necessary?
Um, it wasn't that you didn't require a test, um, but if you were in a hot spot where a case had been found, you have to isolate, get a test. Also, if you have any symptoms, like if you have a fever or a cough, um, they would recommend that you isolate immediately and get a test. But a test wasn't mandatory before you come to a gig. It was just that if you felt unwell, they wanted you to go and get a test rather than putting anyone else at risk, which has worked pretty well.
And you do a lot of live performances, right?
I try to.
I saw you have live dates on your Spotify page. How is this experience? We in Europe, we don't know how it feels to go on a live concert or perform on a live concert. It's light years in the past.
Yeah. No, it's definitely. I make sure not to take it for because yeah, I mean, you just hear about. I have a lot of friends overseas who are in that similar situation where they haven't had gigs for almost 2 years now, and in the past when I'd play a gig, it would just be a lot of fun. But especially when you'd play during the lockdown times, you'd be made very aware of the fact, especially if you've just come out of a lockdown, it just gives you a greater appreciation of the fact that this could not be happening. And I think it makes you feel more present in the moment and you feel very lucky in Brisbane get to put on shows, and that I've played shows that morning they've had to pull the plug or reduce the person limit. So if a show is happening, we have a newfound appreciation for the fact that we're really lucky and we get to do what we love. I don't think anyone's because we're not back to 100% yet, and we still have the kind of fear that anything could be taken away at any moment. But I don't think anyone's taking it for granted yet. I think we all feel very lucky that we get to put on shows that we love to do.
So the feeling is a little bit different to the time before the virus.
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of all dependent on what happens with COVID at the moment.
Yeah, maybe you can describe a little bit what kind of music are you doing, how everything started with your music?
Hmm. Um, that's that's always been a tricky one because I like to do lots of different genre stuff. So I have a country song, I have a rock song, I have a jazz duet. But I think it all kind of falls under the umbrella of rock and pop rock and kind of a musical theater thing. I grew up listening to Alan Menken and Disney and also all the musical theater stuff. But also my dad always loved 70s and 80s classic rock, and it all just kind of fused together. I always found it very unusual because I just like to write music that I like to listen to, and people. I know. I always thought it's someone else's job to put like a genre to it. I just want to write the music. But yeah.
Your main instrument is your guitar, I think, or but you also have a keyboard or a piano in the background. Is it your studio where you're sitting, or?
Yeah, yeah. It's an odd one. I started by playing guitar, and then I taught myself the keyboard, and I realized that having the music kind of more in front of you, it felt more logical to write music on a keyboard. So now I write all my music on a piano, but when I play, I have a keyboard player, so I just play guitar, and I'm not an amazing guitarist, but I have fun when I play guitar. So that's what it's all about.
So with the guitar, you started as a child, or when did you start to learn playing on a guitar?
Probably when I was about 11 or 12. I wanted to impress my girlfriend at the time, so I thought I'd learn guitar and be very cool. But no,
No, didn't work.
no, no. It was because she played guitar. She was a very good guitarist, but you can't really just pick up guitar and be good at it very quickly. So I was just a very amateur guitarist for a long time. So it didn't really work at impressing her.
And then how it developed? Have you been in a band, or have you played with your guitar in a street in town, or?
Yeah, I did. I busked a few years. I used to go to the city with my guitar case, and I'd do covers and stuff. I also there was a few restaurants that I used to play 3-hour gigs at for what I know now is very little money, but at the time I thought it was a lot of money. And then I just started working in more of my original stuff into my set, and eventually I had a complete set of my songs. And then I started writing songs that needed a backing band, and so I put together a band, and we've been playing for almost 10 years. It's gotten to the point now where members have gotten swapped out over time, but there are still some members who are there from that original band, which is good. But yeah, and that's kind of where we're at now.
Is it difficult you say you first played cover songs? That's maybe more easy to get fans with that. People know the songs they hear, and then you change to playing your own written songs. The people maybe they don't know these songs. It's new for them. That's more difficult to get into the songs. So is it a difference with the
Yeah.
people who hear your music? It's more hard to get fans then, or?
Yeah. It's kind of a tough one because uh the argument against cover songs is that it's like, oh, it's not what I really want to play. Um, but you can play cover songs that you want to play, but even then, they're not always songs that like people say that they want to play their original songs because that's what they want to play. But if you're playing cover songs, then you're not really playing what you want to play anyway, because the cover songs that are successful, it's always changing with what's on the radio. Really, like the up to date songs. Yeah, I mean you've got your staples like Hotel California and stuff, but you kind of always having to learn new music, and it's not as fulfilling for the soul as you'd like it to be. But I find that, excuse me.
Ah, yeah, no problem.
Sorry, my dog turned on my PlayStation somehow. Um,
Okay, funny. Yeah, but is this strategy with playing cover songs? You play 80% titles your audience wants to hear, and then you put 10 to 20% songs in it, your favorite songs, and so it's a good mixture in the end, or for a playlist?
yeah, I think that's the way to go. Yeah, you fill about with the songs that people know and like, and then you kind of sprinkle in a couple of your originals because you can be like, oh, if you like my this is a song of mine, want to support me and win people over. Because mentioned, if people are like, oh, I know this song, I like this song, they start paying attention. Which can be tough because when you're playing at a restaurant, it feels like people are just there to eat their food and they kind of tune you out. Um, so playing a cover is a good way to get people to pay attention. And then if you do a really good job at the cover, then they can be like, oh, I like this artist. They're a good musician. And if you have a bit of personality and banter, they can be like, oh, and they seem like a nice person as well. And then you can be like, also, this is one of my songs. And then they can say, oh, I also like their music. So it's a good way to do it. I still make sure to sprinkle like a couple covers in my set currently because it's also a nice reward because um, even when you're playing gigs that you're headlining and selling tickets for, you don't know whether every single person is there who's heard you before. It could be a new person, and it gives them something that they've probably heard before as well, because you don't want to make it a night of songs that they've never heard of. Yeah.
You said you played in a restaurant with your guitar. Did you sell CDs or or showed your internet address, or how did you manage it that the people who heard your music can follow you?
I back in my restaurant days, I hadn't enough money to get an EP made, so I didn't have any CDs. But I did have full piece of paper that I had laminated that was like, follow me on Facebook, and I'd have it on my like music stand, or I'd have it in my guitar case so that people could look up and see it, which is something that I should implement now. Maybe not like a lamper, but maybe like a banner or a sign to say in the like in between your set, like, oh, if you like the song, please find iTunes, your man Alex Smith. Um, but like someone could walk in after that and walk out before that, and they have no way of knowing what your name is, so they can't find you. So it's very good to have something with your name on it in plain sight, so someone can say, I like this, that's their name, I'm gonna go online and follow them.
Questioning myself after a concert, how many people react, post something on your Facebook or write in your timeline, it was a nice concert or something like that?
I find that in later days, it's happening more on Instagram. Because back in the day, people would, I mean, you still get people add you on Facebook and then say, "Oh, you were good tonight," but those numbers are much less nowadays. It's that people follow you on Spotify and they'll add you to their story and tag you and say, oh, these guys are doing really good, which is still really nice because it's nice to see that people are enjoying it for a start. It's also nice to know that they're sharing you. And also, as a musician, you don't often get footage of yourself, so you don't really know how you did all the time. So it's nice to be like, oh yeah, we did all right to see the video.
Real people who follow, not only unknown people in the internet. So it's people you saw on the concert, maybe. So there's a real connection. And but now, yeah, you said now you are in a band, or how many people are you?
Yeah, 5.
Five. Okay. Then you write together on songs, or are you the songwriter? And how is this working?
At the moment, the previous songs up until now, it's been me being the songwriter, and I've been going away to get it produced with my producer. Um, from this album onwards, we want to make it more collaborative because I've been playing with these guys for a long time now. But it'll still be that I do the lyrics and I'll bring the melody and the general vibe. But you know, I'm not a bass player. I'm not a drummer. And so I think we're going to bring it in and workshop it, which honestly is all I've really wanted since I was a kid. I've always loved the romance of the band workshopping atmosphere and getting to go to a studio together and work on stuff. I've always found that much more fun. It's always what you see in the movies and the documentaries and stuff.
Yeah, I heard some of your songs or listened to some of your songs, and it sounds very, it's a live feeling in your songs. They do not sound as made on a computer, and you hear real instruments, and it sounds a little bit like recorded live. What's the process?
That's I appreciate hearing that. Thank you. um, at the moment, the process has been that because I do a little bit of producing myself, so I'll make the demo tracks and I'll just do like MIDI drums and bass and everything just to get like a feel of the song. And then I'll my producer and I'll send him the song and be like, "What do you think?" And he'll say, cut this, add this," and then send it back to me. And I'll say, "Okay," and then we'll get it a little bit closer to what it is, and then I'll send it back to him and back and forth, and then he'll lay down some real instruments like bass and guitar and drums and all that stuff. And then once it's gotten to a place that we feel is good, I'll travel up to him and we'll do a whole day of recording vocals and harmonies and stuff. And then we'll back and forth a whole bunch of times on notes and tweaks, and then eventually it'll be a polished song. And then we've done that for all the songs, and it takes a long time, but it's very rewarding. And I feel that it shows because I'm very proud of the tracks, and yeah.
It sounds professional and it's well produced, I think.
Thank you.
So it's not live recorded. You record the instrument step after step.
Yeah, I that's been how it is up till now. I'm gonna kind of experiment trying to record all at once. I think just because my songs are a little bit ambitious, and there's kind of the 5-piece band, but then there'll usually be like strings and horns and a choir and stuff. And I found that if I were to record by the hour or for a day rate, I think it could very quickly balloon in price. And so I've been very lucky to go with the producer who does it per song. But my project after the album I'm working on at the moment, I want to do kind of more of a punk kind of feel. And I think that would lend itself to a live all at once kind of sound. And it also means that if it is a little bit rough around the edges, then it doesn't matter too much because it's part of the sound. And that way we were able to experiment with it, and also it works, you know?
Or maybe you do two versions of a song step by step. Afterwards you make a band recording.
Sure. That'd be pretty fun. I mean, we could play a launch gig and then get the sound out of the desk and then mix that.
Maybe, yeah.
I have to think about that. Yeah.
You have in Brisbane you have a great or a big live scene, or are there many clubs where you can play? Or
That's a tricky one because there are not as many as we'd like, and more are getting shut down by the day. But I think at the moment we still have more than some other cities. I know Sydney's getting a lot of clubs getting shut down even before COVID hit. But now that COVID's hit, they're all getting converted into bowling alleys and other things. Um, and I know that a venue that we all loved got closed down. The New Globe Theatre was a good one. There's a lot of big venues for big acts and medium venues, but we kind of lack the small venues for a you need to have the small venue so that bands can cut their teeth because you can't just go from beginner to medium venue. You got to have the kind of small venue so you can kind of suck a little bit and get a following. It's a very important part of the gig life cycle that we're not.
But it has nothing to do with the virus situation that not so many people can come to a small club.
I think it's definitely the virus has destroyed a lot of venues. I think that this problem with
So you told me about that's also difficult for the clubs with the virus.
yeah, I think it's tough because all these places are still having to pay the rent to own the property, but then they're oh that's the thing. Sports arenas are allowed to operate at full capacity and have for a long time, but clubs still have reduced capacity, but they still have to pay the same rent. So, these venues are kind of getting strangled because they still got to pay the rent, but they're not allowed to let the patrons in. I mean, it was a problem before the virus because people just aren't really going out as much as they used to, at least not in Australia. Streaming and stuff, it's very comfortable to say.
You're right. There's many entertainment options for the people. They can watch Netflix, Amazon. They can play on the PlayStation. They can do such a lot of things, and there's only one way going to a live concert, or it's only one option of so many today.
Yeah,
So the challenge is hard for
I know.
us.
Also, yeah. Also in Australia, Sydney and Melbourne are definitely there's a lot more of an arts culture. You just kind of go out and find a gig, whereas in Brisbane it's very much please come to my gig, and people don't tend to just go out in Brisbane. I don't know if that's the same way you are.
And as you don't have a home club in your town where you can play every month.
There are I found that residencies like that are more often at like RSL clubs, um, but not so much at like music venues. It's usually just kind of like a club where music isn't the focus, which is unfortunate. Um, it's definitely there are there are bigger venues that you would want to play, but those venues, especially in COVID now, are really making it difficult for the smaller or medium acts to get in because they're saving those slots for the touring acts or the bigger acts, which makes sense because it's a safer financial thing. Because they know that they're probably going to sell tickets. Smaller acts, especially in Brisbane, really struggle to sell tickets, and you can put on a small act and support the local, music scene, but also not every band is pulling their weight and bringing people to those shows, which means that the venue then loses money, which means that they don't get booked, which means that they're less likely to book small acts, which means small acts don't get big enough to get. So it's all a thing, yeah.
Have you played on a festival, or are there many festivals in Australia? Is this an option for you?
Yeah,
Or?
yeah. There's Big Sound, uh, Tamworth Country Music Festival. There's I got to play Tamworth. That was fun. I only have one country song, so I really felt like I had to kind of cheat my way through it. But it was a lot of fun. I was very glad I got to do it. But Yeah,
Is it
definitely lots of
hard
festivals.
to get this invitation?
No, you just got to apply. A lot of festivals, um, a lot of festivals, you just got to write in, but you got to make sure you do it in the application date. There's usually a very specific date um, we got to apply for, and it's very easy to miss it because they don't advertise it too much.
How long is your set? 20 minutes or half an hour or?
At a festival,
Yes.
that would depends on how big you are and what the set is. Sometimes it can, if you're one of like 100 bands and you're not very well known, it could be like a 15 to 20 minute set. Um, but obviously, if you do, you can get like an hour. Yeah.
What is the preparation for a live concert? Is there a lot to do? I think if you're preparing for a live concert, what is your to-do list for this?
Would that be me personally preparing, or just bands in Brisbane in general?
Maybe your band. Do you have a lot of equipment, a lot of instruments and cables and so on? What do you need a truck for it?
Yeah, no, I wish. At the moment, the setup process is I make sure that I always want to rehearse every song I'm going to play that night, even if we've rehearsed it for like weeks and weeks and weeks. I just need to do it at least once before I go on. It's just a superstition thing for me. I like to, I do painted nails, so I paint my nails at home so I don't smudge it everywhere. I make sure I pick out a cool outfit for the evening. Uh, Tune my guitar. I polish my guitar stuff off it. Change the strings if I need to, and then I'll get to the venue at if it's like a 7 o'clock show, I'll get there at 5 for load in, and then we wait till about 6 for sound check, and everyone individually comes to the venue, and we try to scramble to find parking in the city, and we help each other load their stuff in. So like everyone helps the drummer bring all this stuff in and help the guitarist with this big heavy amp. And then we'll load all the gear on the stage and we'll do a sound check. And then there'll usually be kind of like an hour just to kill before the doors open, which is generally where we'll go off and find some dinner and usually eat dinner as a band and have a chat. And then we'll come back and get ready for the gig. I also have a thing where I have an iPod with an app on it, and you can set how long of a vocal warm up you want. And I always need to have a vocal warm up before I go on because I've gotten superstitious now. I worry that if I don't, I'm just gonna and then I wander just like doing vocal warm ups because I'm at a point in my career where no one's gonna recognize me and be like, oh my god, because usually the people who know who I am are inside waiting for me to play. So. Hopefully that'll be a problem later down the line. But for now, I'm able to just wander around and be like la 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 la, and then we play.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing to warm the vocal up. I think it's also if I'm recording vocals or something like that, I'm not a good singer, but it needs maybe after half an hour, it gets better with the vocals. So I think it's helpful
Yeah,
to do this. Only 1 hour for preparing everything, putting the instruments and the cables and everything. You get it in 1 hour or?
well, usually it would be like load in at 5 o'clock, sound check at 6, doors open at 7, first band 8, second band 9, and then usually we'll play on at like 10, and then we'll play till about 11, and we'll go home. So it's a long day, but it's a fun day. I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's good fun.
So everyone has his own car and his instruments in his car and everything he needs for his performance. He transports in his car to the location then.
Yeah, I think in future, because we're looking at trying to put some tours together, I will definitely try and maybe hire a van or carpool a bit better. But for now, because Brisbane's very small and everyone lives so nearby, you can just zoop to the place.
Maybe you can tell us something about your latest project and what are your plans? You told me you wanted to change the genre a little bit to in the punk direction. Maybe
Yeah.
what are your favorites in punk? Do you like the Sex Pistols, or what are your in which direction it should
Well,
go?
the punk album will be after the album about to release on June 18th. And that one's one I've been working on that for about 4 years. And it's kind of a different genre. Um, so it should be really good. And then after that, the punk one will come out. But the one that's coming out on June 18th is called Slow Burn. It should be really good. It's kind of a concept album.
So you have a current project at the moment, and after that the punk starts.
Yeah. I've got an album coming out June 18th. It's going to be on Spotify and Bandcamp and iTunes and all that stuff. Uh, it's kind of a concept album. It's got a narrative thing, but I'm really excited because it's taken about 4 years to make, and it's got 10, 10 tracks, each with like a very different sound. So there's like a jazz duet, kind of a swing thing. There's an 80s power ballad.
An 80s ballad, I understood.
Yeah, should be good.
Nowadays, many people say if they are on Spotify, going away from the album thing and releasing only singles, maybe one track a month. If you have 10 songs for an album, you release them over 10 months, so you can release every month a song.
I think that was a tough one for me. I think part of it was just that as a kid, I always loved albums and I wanted to do an album that I like. I think moving forward, I'll probably have to do the singles thing, but I just wanted to get at least one album. I still want to eventually make a vinyl, and I know vinyls aren't really a thing anymore, but just as a kid, I loved them. I would even be happy doing like a single on a tape cassette, just because for me it's such a cool thing. Like this album's coming out in CD. No one really does CD anymore, so like it comes with a digital download code so that you can download it, and it comes with a bunch of stuff. But just for me, I like having the physical thing, and it's got like the booklet and the artwork. I know it's definitely big nostalgia on my part that's keeping me in the past. And I think also I think it was important for this album because it tells a story, and so you can drop it all at once and they can enjoy it in one go. That being said, there's definitely something to be said for kind of like drip feeding the story over the months. In future, I'm definitely gonna look into it. I'm an old man, and I like albums and the way that you listen to albums and
Well,
stuff.
don't think you're old. What are you, in the 30s or in the 20s? No.
28.
So you're not old. But there is a build up in this album from song to song. It builds one song goes in the other one, or has a connection, first song to the second one and to the third.
I wasn't smart enough to make an album that's like continuous all the way through. I'm no Pink Floyd. Um, I think the other thing is that I wanted to make an album that was a bunch of individual songs that you, if you wanted to, could listen out of order, and each song would still be an enjoyable chunk. I think the through line is the narrative. That's what makes it a concept album. But uh, I've listened to albums where not every song could be an aria. Sometimes you have to have like the kind of the in betweeny songs. And it's good when you listen to an album from start to finish, because then you're like, oh, that gives context. But I always found that if I were to put those songs on my iPod, I wouldn't include those smaller songs. And my goal was to try and make an album of like chunks that you could listen to out of order. Like obviously the first time you listen to, you get the story, but then afterwards you can just be like, I like this song, I like this song, and then you can listen to the ones you like. I always try to make a song that is. I never try to make a song that is forgettable, I should say, because I think some songs can definitely serve as connecting tissue.
And how long did you work on the album?
Since 2017, I was working a little bit. There are some songs that I've been working on in the background for like much longer. Um, like the song line that people really like, the cowboy song. I think I had lyrics for that in 2013, um, and I liked it, but then I put it down for a long time because I didn't feel like I was doing it right. But yeah, it's been a long time.
So the other tracks I see on your Spotify, Align, Rescue Me, Tragedy, they are recent songs?
All the songs with the black and white artwork, they're singles from the new album.
Ah, okay.
Uh, the tragedy and like tragedies from my first EP, and Little Automaton is from the second EP.
Ah, okay. You published some songs during the work on the album.
Yeah, well,
You
originally it was meant to come out in 2020,
ah, okay.
but kind of took everyone by surprise that year. Oh, actually, a big exciting thing that I forgot to mention. Uh, since Sep September of last year, I've been working with Danish animation house Skjald from the Tales of Elethrion series, and we're working on a music video for a line. It should be out in a couple months.
Ah, okay.
It looks amazing. Yeah, it's very, very cool. I'm really excited for it. I can't believe I almost forgot to mention that.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
very big deal.
I also had a question on the paper that I saw your latest music video on YouTube, and I thought it was made very elaborate with a story in it, and you played some scenes. And are you in this video? I saw Rescue Me. I think I saw,
Yeah, that was me. That was back when I had long hair and I had a big mustache.
but that
The
was.
mustache was for the character.
Ah, yeah. I wanted to ask you: is this extra for the video, or
Yeah, no, I wouldn't I wouldn't just casually have a massive mustache.
yeah? So everyone who sees our video should now go to YouTube and look for your man Alex Smith, and the
Yeah,
video is Rescue Me. You should see this,
yeah,
and maybe
yeah.
yeah,
Had a
and
lot of fun making that one.
hopefully everyone is subscribing to our YouTube channels. To nowadays, you have to say this.